Hello, YouTubers out there. This is Jerry Sadavia the Movies. So, I saw the first season of Cobra Kai. This is a series that now it's in its third season. Is a sequel to the first three Karate Kid films. Um, it is highly enjoyable. I first heard about Cobra Kai, well, I guess now a couple of years ago, and I thought it was some sort of a joke. I didn't think it was an actual series. I didn't think they were really bringing back uh, these characters. And at first, I thought it was just going to be a show about Johnny, played by William Zabka. And I thought, okay, well, I didn't have tremendous interest in it. I said, all right, whatever. I thought it was some sort of a maybe more like a comedy sketch. I don't know. It didn't occur to me that it was a serious, serious series. And it first, of course, premiered on YouTube, and I couldn't watch it because you had to pay for the service to see it. So I thought, oh, I'll wait and see and hear about it. And then I saw a trailer, and I guess the first one I saw was more like a teaser, and I thought, oh, this is some sort of a joke. Can't be, you know. I didn't take it too seriously. But then when I discovered that Ralph Macchio was playing Daniel Larusso, as we all know him, of course, as the original Karate Kid, then I said, oh, okay, this might be interesting. And the fact that Daniel LaRusso runs a car dealership, I thought, all right. And Johnny is installing TVs. He's trying to get by somehow. He doesn't have the Cobra Kai school, but he's inspired by this kid who's being beaten up in front of a liquor store at a strip mall named Miguel Diaz, played by Xolo Maridueña. And I thought, well, there's something here. And so when I saw the trailer, then I saw the first episode and the second. So I watched the entire 10 episodes. I normally, something I don't do is binge watch, but this was a show I just couldn't help. I wanted to keep watching. So I think I started at night and then I finished this morning. So I certainly look forward to seeing where this show goes for the next two seasons. And we'll do reviews of those. But so overall, Cobra Kai is very enjoyable. I really liked it. Well, like just about anything else, out of pure nostalgia, there's a lot of callbacks to the Karate Kid movies, particularly the first film. Uh, there's a little bit for the second film. But in particular, the show is really, at first, it seems to really be about Johnny, played by William Zabka. And we see more or less his story as it evolves. So he's installing TVs, and he doesn't like the job because he called the customer a bitch, when in fact he didn't. He says something else, and so it was misconstrued. Anyway, he then decides he has to figure out what he's going to do. He has to find another job, and he lives in an apartment. And Ed Asner plays Johnny's stepfather. So we discover that he's Johnny's stepfather. Johnny actually himself used to live in Encino, so that his family was well off, to say the least. His father was rich, or his stepfather. So the stepfather decides, well, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you one last check. I'm buying you off. And he tears up the check, says, I don't need your money. And then he decides, after he saves this kid, Miguel Diaz, from these other idiots, these bullies from school, he shows his prowess as a karate fighter. And Miguel is, of course, inspired and says, oh, can you teach me those moves and that sort of thing. So based on that, Johnny decides he's going to reopen the Cobra Kai school. And it's at a strip mall, unlike the what we saw in the first couple of films, Karate Kid Part 1 and 3, where it was more of not a strip mall, but just an individual storefront, if you like. So the film is then about, or the series, I should say, is about Johnny training these kids. And he gets more and more of them interested because Miguel shows off his prowess at school against these bullies. And he gets a whole bunch of students at the Cobra Kai school just when Daniel LaRusso, who finds out that Johnny is opening a Cobra Kai school, has the one who charges rent double the rent at these places. So, um, but there is an interesting dynamic, I think, between him, Johnny, and Daniel Larusso. There's mutual respect, but there's a lot of bitterness. And by the way, now Daniel Larusso, as I said earlier, he runs a car dealership. He's married, um, has two children, and one of them is Samantha, played by Mary Mouser, and really looks and acts like a LaRusso kid. The other one is more like he's this short, fat kid who eats all the wrong foods and just plays games all day. Um, if I have one, if there's a flaw to this show, and very few exist, if any, with this show, I must say. I don't say that a whole lot about a lot of TV series, but this one in particular, if there is a little flaw, it's that. I would have eliminated that kid from the cast. Sorry to say, I'm not even mentioning the actor's name, just out of respect for the profession of acting, but I would have preferred if this kid did not appear in the show. Each time I saw him, I said, what's the point? There's enough of a dynamic, which we want to see more of, and we do, of Daniel LaRusso and his daughter. Because the tension escalates, you see. Daniel LaRusso is doing very well with his car dealership, and he lives now in Encino, if I remember correctly, with his wife and two children. They have a beautiful house and a couple cars and all this stuff. So the billboard of Daniel LaRusso, or it's called, the dealership is called LaRusso. He thinks he's getting which he is, some competition from another guy, and he thought he's the one that, basically defaced his billboard, LaRusso's billboard, with, cock in his mouth. Sorry to say. But in fact, it was Johnny. Johnny does it. And Daniel LaRusso gets wind of this, and that's where the tension begins. Not to mention, Samantha goes to the same school as Miguel Diaz. Now, at first she's dating an Asian guy who turns out to be a bully, and then we slowly see less and less of him as the show goes on. But she gets interested in Miguel. They go on a nice date and all that. It's very well handled. It's not too cutesy or anything. It's almost like it feels like what a first date would be like for teenagers in love. And of course, it recalls the original Karate Kid with Daniel LaRusso and his relationship with Elizabeth Shue's character in that film. But the tension escalates when, of course, Miguel is a Cobra Kai student, and probably the best one that Johnny has. And she doesn't really want to bring him around to her house because there is that friction between Daniel LaRusso and Johnny. So then we get Johnny's son who appears, and his name is Robbie, played by Tanner Buchanan. We discover that he has this son, but he's divorced from his wife and has been estranged from his son, and his son is always getting in trouble in school or doesn't go to school at all, and so on and so forth. So to piss off Johnny, the son decides to work for LaRusso at the dealership. I mean, these were things I didn't even anticipate happening. I mean, you talk about really escalating the tension and the friction. That's what you want, particularly in a show, a series. You want the conflicts because that brings these characters to the surface to some degree and shows them as who they are. And anyway, that's the gist of it. I don't want to give too much away. I'm sure, of course, a lot of people who have watched Cobra Kai have seen the show, so there's nothing new I'm saying. One of the things I really appreciated about Cobra Kai is that even though there are some comedic elements, particularly I kind of laughed out loud at the callbacks because it was just so interesting seeing that back, because I have such fond memories of the first Karate Kid film. The second one I never quite cared for, and the third one is just interminably stupid, but it is entertaining. So I don't know what, it's a good bad movie, Karate Kid Part 3. But what I liked is they fleshed out the characters, and that was interesting, particularly Johnny. William Zabka always wears sort of the same expression, but I understood that because he's sort of hardened. He's not as emotionally astute. He drinks way too much. He's basically an alcoholic, but he drinks one too many Coors. But he gets rid of that eventually as the show goes on. And of course, there's a tournament. But the interesting thing about the tournament, without giving away anything in case you haven't seen the show, and this is one of the first reviews you've seen, and I certainly hope it's not, but nonetheless, you're sort of rooting for both. And that was the interesting thing. I will say this much. Johnny's son is training under Daniel Larusso. And Johnny doesn't treat the Cobra Kai the same way that his former mentor did. So when he sees his own son fighting his top student, Miguel Diaz, who goes through quite a stunning transformation in this show as well, from, a wimp who, is not too sure about wanting to be so animalistic, which is what he pushes Johnny, to almost an animal. I mean, it's really quite something to see. This kid is good, this actor. Xolo Maridueña. And that, you're kind of rooting for both. And that was interesting. This show doesn't simplify things too much. I mean, you could almost say that about the first Karate Kid film, but when you think about the first Karate Kid film, Johnny also came into his own at the very end. And then we see in the opening act of the second film, which directly starts after the first film ended, that his mentor, Kyle, no, not Kyle, sorry, Chris, oh geez, I forgot his name, was not really the best mentor that Johnny needed. The older Johnny doesn't want to be like him, but he does want his students to stop being pussies, as he puts it, and fight. And it's all about winning, but there are problems in life. There are obstacles, and you have to overcome them. One day you wake up and everything is great, as he says, and then suddenly it's a world of shit. Boy, do I know about that. That happens frequently in life. That's the way it is. So the best thing about this show is William Zabka, but I really loved Ralph Macchio as Daniel LaRusso. He really came into his own here. Now, real quick, I'm going to see the next two seasons, and I will discuss them in a review. But real quick, I wanted to point out something. There was an article the other day, and I've heard this before from others, that in The Karate Kid, the first film, this was sort of a bone of contention for a while, and I never really thought of it this way, and I don't think it's still right. That Daniel LaRusso was the real bully in the first Karate Kid film, and not Johnny. If you watch the same film I did, look, Daniel wanted to fight back. He didn't take no for an answer. After all, this is an Italian. Oh, another thing I must point out. Randy Heller, who played Daniel LaRusso's mom in Karate Kid 1 and 3, and I think she only did a phone call in the second film, but you didn't see her. Or maybe you did briefly. Geez, I don't remember now. I think, no, in the second film, I don't think you see her at all. You do see her briefly in the third film, if I'm not mistaken. She returns, so it was wonderful to see her back. Silver-haired, a little older, and some friction between her and Daniel LaRusso's wife. It was really quite good. Very nice. Anyway, Daniel, I don't think he was the bully. I think it was Johnny, because they were a group who thought that they were fierce creatures, and they, had to stand up and strike first. And part of Johnny's redemption is that final, one of the second to last final shot of that movie, where Johnny, he gets the trophy and hands it right to Daniel LaRusso, and you felt for Johnny, because he was just this. It was just a tournament, but they didn't. They found, some common ground, even if it's very brief. So, but Johnny was the bully. He was definitely the bully. There's no question about it. Daniel LaRusso was pushy, but he just fought back. And yes, it's true. Then, Daniel's mentor, Miyagi, who's alluded to in this film quite frequently, his philosophies, which was really nice. comes to the rescue at least once, and knocks a couple of Johnny's, hooligan friends out. But then again, think about this: Johnny sort of comes to the rescue of this kid who's being beaten up by bullies. So um, it's almost like a callback in a for a different set of circumstances. But I can't say that Daniel was ever a bully. I mean, I think that's ridiculous. Again, he was pushy. He would fight back, but at the end of the day, Miyagi teaches him the valuable lessons that Johnny needed to learn, which was that the fighting, it's not all about tournaments. And guess who else used to say that? It was Bruce Lee. It's about learning, how to find balance. And that's one thing Daniel shares in this film with Johnny's son. So I really loved how this was put together. It was it was a lot better than I expected. And I look forward to the next two seasons. I'm not going to watch them that quickly, but I will see them for sure. So those are my thoughts on Cobra Kai. And if you like what you hear, please subscribe, hit like and notifications for more videos, of which there will be. Um, yeah, look forward to Cobra Kai seasons 2 and 3. And this is Jerry Sadovia at the Movies, signing off.